Update 4 is right around the corner, and if you want to make sure that you have all the best perks the game has to offer before Update 4 drops, then you're in the right place. I'm going to be ranking all 13 Mythic perks in the game based off 3 major questions. First, how many builds is the perk needed in? A lot? A little? None at all? In other words, how relevant is the perk? Second, how impactful is the perk to the build it's being used in? Is it the backbone, the foundation, the glue holding it all together, or just simply the sprinkles on top? Third, how well does the perk stand on its own? There are many perks that do a lot and working in unison with each other, and there are a few that do a lot entirely on their own, giving you more value earlier in the game. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's get to the list. All right, so up first we got Adaptation. Going off feels, I'd say like A tier. So it's really not used at all for anything other than shifting, just because like if you're getting hit more than twice as like ODM or Thunder Spears, you're probably doing something wrong. I really see Adaptation as more of an offensive perk, honestly, because it allows the shifters to basically allows the shifters to not get staggered, and because they're not getting staggered, they can dish out more damage. So it's really, really good for the female Titan build, or like the female crit Titan build. Outside of that though, it really doesn't do a whole lot. Now in the build itself, it's really, really strong, which is why I'm gonna put it in A tier. But because it's not the foundation of any type of build, and because it's only used in shifter builds, I'm gonna leave it in A tier. Second, we got Art of War. Okay. So first off, Art of War is really good. The only reason it's not an S+ is because it's only used for shifters. But dude, it carries shifters so much. It's actually ridiculous. What is it? Hold on, let me look at the... Yeah, so your shifter M1 speed increases by 10% and shifter damage increases by 40%. Dude, that's busted, bro. Like on its own, it single-handedly carries. Like if you took out Art of War from any shifter build, bro, like no, you lose. And plus also on top of that, it like, let's say you didn't have a completed build and you're a shifter and this is the first mythic perk you get, you're already like leagues above everybody else that doesn't have Art of War. So it has to sit. I think S is really, really strong. I might move it to S+ later, but probably not. Yeah, I think S is probably fine. We'll go with S. Black Flash, bro. It has to, bro. Hear me out. Like, here's the thing, right? Black Flash is arguably the most important perk, and not just one of the most broken builds in the game, so both the most broken builds in the game, basically. And without it, it's like both of those builds take huge step backs, bro. Getting guaranteed like maximum crit damage is so unbelievably broken that like I feel like that's enough said, honestly. All right, so here's our first, honestly. Hold on. Okay. All right, moving on. All right, for real though, so Everlasting, hold on, I need to pull up the exact, I just know it's really bad. So your blast radius increases by 30%. And your explosion, and each explosion does 10 to 30% burn damage. So first off, it only can be used in Thunder Spear builds, like to have any effect. Otherwise, it literally just does absolutely nothing for you. So if you're a shifter, it does nothing for you, and if you're using ODM, it does nothing for you also. Or sorry, blades. Either way. So that's the first like big tick, right? Second, it doesn't even have a use. So maybe when Waves comes out, like it'll be more needed, I guess. But I can't think of a single example of why you would want more blast radius. Maybe anti-guard. But then again, is anybody really hurting for more blast radius? And then on top of that, so from my understanding, each explosion damage is 30% more or 30% burn damage. So that's not saying that you do 30% more damage. It's saying that it converts. So you're still doing the exact same amount of damage, but the last 30% of your damage is a burn over time effect. That's how it was explained to me. If that's wrong, and it just adds 30% more damage on top of it, which is form of damage overall, this probably would jump to like, it would probably jump to like the back of S tier. But based off, and so like, again, if that's wrong, you can correct me in the comments, but based off my understanding, it converts 30% of your damage to burn damage, which is just really dumb because the trade-off for blast radius isn't good. Moving on. Explosive Fortune. Explosive Fortune. I think A tier. No, B tier. I think B tier. Hold on. I need to pull this one up also. So conservation chance increases by 15% and a chance to regain a spear is increased by 7.5%. It's good, but it's not like important. It's not a bad perk at all. I think B tier is like perfect for it because there's nothing. I mean, I don't think there's anything that you'd want instead. No, you'd want. Yeah, there's something else you'd probably want. So unless you have a specific family, I don't want to explain this. There's a more important perk that's going to take up your support slot across like every single one of your builds, unless you have a specific family. So I'm just going to leave this here, and then we'll get to that in the future. I'll let you know when we're at that point. Founder's Blessing. So this might make some people upset, but I think it's like A tier, bro. I think it's A tier. I wouldn't even put it in S tier. I think it's A tier. Let me explain to you why. So, first off, Founder's Blessing is only useful for shifters. And on top of that, the best shifter builds don't even use Founder's Blessing. They use Black Flash and Art of War. So, like, however, if you get Founder's Blessing early, and it's one of the first perks you have, and you're a shifter, that could probably carry you almost as much as Art of War. However, Art of War is still used throughout the entirety of your like playthrough, I guess, as a shifter. Founder's Blessing isn't, and also isn't as powerful, in my opinion. So I think top of A tier is probably where it'll go for now. They agree. All right, next we got Font of Inspiration. Bro, Font of Inspiration. I think it has to go like S+. Maybe not. No. Dude, yeah, it has to go S+. Do I put it in front of Black Flash? No, because Black Flash is more utilized over like... So here's the thing about Font of Inspiration, right? It's used in all the top builds of the game. It can be used whenever, right? It's useful at all points of the game. So if you get it really early, it's still really good for you because you can pop Order Rage and Black Flare, and that's already really strong. And on top of that, it's still useful late game because, like, again, Black Flare, Order Rage, the Helos. I can't remember what the Helos one thing is. I think there might be even a couple of Helos. Either way, the Fritz Roar. It's really, really strong, but and being able to use those in the air as well is just really nice. And then the extra 30% damage resistance for all of your allies on top of it is just, yeah, it's super, super strong, bro. Font of Inspiration is really, really strong, specifically for raids. Hey guys, Future V here. Just want to step in real quick and say, this is the perk I was talking about for, that like outclasses Explosive Fortune. And honestly, you should be using Font of Inspiration over basically every support perk, unless you're doing something very specific, which is why in general, you're gonna see in the future, I'm gonna rate most of the support perks pretty low. Yeah, also don't forget to like and subscribe, kitty. Love you. Heavenly Restriction. Bro, people dog this perk so much. I actually did a whole video on this perk, and actually, the results might surprise you, low-key. So here's the thing about Heavenly Restriction, right? It has to be like, I don't think it's as bad as Everlasting Flame, because at least, in my opinion, at least has a use. So, for ODM, it allows you to play a lot more free and a lot more fluid. So I actually tested like the best ODM builds I could build for just speed, and I was able to do an entire aberrant outskirts. I was able to do outskirts in like 202 or something like that, which is actually pretty good. By the way, there were a lot of people that were leaving a comment saying that like 2 minutes isn't that super fast, like you can like gather the Titans and do this. You have to remember though, the timer only starts once you've actually dealt damage. So if you're getting like 40-second times, and it's when you're gathering them all and then like activating your Titan and things like that, it's not incorporating the time that it took to gather the Titans. It's still probably faster, but it's not as fast as I think as a lot of people think it is. Either way, Heavenly Restriction, it's bad. However, I actually think Heavenly Restriction could be really good for waves in the future. People also forget, when you mix Heavenly Restriction with Immortal, dude, you're like unkillable. It's crazy. So in my head, I kind of had this thought that they wouldn't allow shifting for waves just because it seems kind of broken. So I guess like, unless waves allows you to shift, this perk will be really good. But if they allow you to shift, then it's just like, I don't know. I don't think it's as bad as Everlasting Flame, but it's definitely worse than the vast majority of these other perks. All right, moving on. Immortal. Bro, Immortal is such a goated perk. I'm gonna put Immortal. Oof. I'm gonna put Immortal at top of S tier. I don't think it makes S plus, and I'll tell you why. Immortal should almost always come before Adaptation. Like if you could choose one or the other, you're almost always gonna pick Immortal. That's not completely true, but just in general, we'll say, right? So, and it's also used like across every like good build you can think of, right? However, the thing is though, is that Thunder Spears, for example, the whole idea is to not get hit in the first place, right? So you're not gonna be really getting a whole lot of value of Immortal in general. Now it does give you a big, it gives you a lot more opportunity to like not be perfect, if that kind of makes sense. So that is good there, but it's not in the same, it's not going to help you get your times down faster. So like if you're like speed running, for example, trying to like knock out raids as fast as you can, it's not going to take your raid from like 2 minutes to 2 minutes and 50 seconds, or to 2 minutes to a minute and 50 seconds or something like that. However, it's just a really nice perk overall, and there's like no negatives to it whatsoever. So I think top of S tier is probably where it should go. All right, next we got maximum firepower. Now, if I remember correctly, maximum firepower. Okay, so yeah, so it increases your spear count by 4, increases the speed of your spears by 40%, all your Thunder Spear stats increase by 7.5%, and also you take no more recoil. So if you look at it in like, well, 40% more ammunition, 40% more damage, that's true. It's just less times you have to go over to refill. But it's not going to increase your damage per second. Well, I guess it kind of would. I'd say like A tier, right? It's not like super important, but it's not bad at all. It probably would be required for almost all Thunder Spear builds. But that's the thing, it's only being used in Thunder Spear builds. I think it's basically like Adaptation, right? I think you'd argue it'd be basically the Adaptation of Thunder Spears. I would say that Adaptation and Maximum Firepower are both behind Founder's Blessing, but I think you could swap these two either way. It wouldn't really matter. Next, we got our boy Kango, bro. Oh my gosh, dude. Kango is so nice. So hold on. So real quick, it's at least going S tier. I want to look at the specifics of it real quick. So Kango increases your ODM and your Thunder Spear damage by 40%. It increases your blade durability or your conservation chance from... So blade durability increases by 20% and your conservation chance increases by 10%. And then you can strike more limbs. So blades can strike 4 limbs at once, and then rockets can blow up 2 limbs at once. So Kango is so ridiculously broken for Thunder Spears, it's insane. So not only are you going to be doing 40% more damage to Thunder Spears, you're also going to be able to hit a second limb, which should also just add more damage. Add that with what's it called? Aftershocks, whatever the one thing is. Dude, it's busted. That's where you see like that 14. Some people be hitting like 14 million damage with Helos, bro. With like After Images is what I'm thinking of. The one memory, dude. Throw Black Flash and Gambler on there, dude. Oh my god. Either way, I'm gonna put it top of S tier. The only reason it doesn't go in S plus is because it's not needed at all for shifters. So I think top of S tier is where it should go. Soul Feed. So Soul Feed was the first Mythic perk I ever got, and it was really cool in the moment because that's when I was like trying to clear like outskirts and crap like that, and I really didn't have a whole lot to like do anything. But it made life a lot easier. But once you're outside of the middle game, or even honestly early game, you really don't need soul feed. It's kind of nice being able to see the Titans. I'm gonna put it top of B tier because I feel like it's really strong for beginners. So let's say you're a shifter, right? It's really good for you because your Titan's probably a lot weaker. And if you're doing attack raids, all those excess like ads or whatever around you, you like can get free life, free HP back that way. And then it'll help you with like fog missions, I guess. And then also if you're like using ODM to clear out regular missions, it's just nice to have some extra HP back every time you get a kill. You probably will be getting hit. And then the seeing through like the fog, I guess, is nice, and like knowing where the last Titan could be useful in certain scenarios for like speedrunning. But it's a lot of niche is what I'm saying. There's not a lot of huge impact. So that's, I feel like top of B tier is probably where that would go. And then last, but certainly might be almost least Taitsujin. I don't remember how to say this. Someone was mad at me for mispronouncing this before. I don't really know how to say it, so my bad. I think probably B tier. Well, so here's the thing in general right now, right? So blades just aren't meta right now. And because of that, like anything that's blade related in general just kind of drops, and you don't really need Tatsujin for Thunder Spears. I think some people, maybe I could be wrong on this too, but my understanding is that Tatsujin doesn't actually affect Black Flash at all. Like if you work the two perks together, it actually don't affect it. Black Flash is based off percentages, not how fast you're going. It doesn't actually get affected by Tatsujin at all. I think also some people, I believe this is also a misconception. People think that Tatsujin helps you punch faster, and that's just not my understanding of how the perk works. It's basically just helps you maneuver really, really well in the air. But how important is that? Not really that important unless you're using blades, and really don't want to be using blades once you're past mid game, in my humble opinion. But yeah, man, that's the list. I did end up moving Explosive Fortune into the bottom of the A tier. I still don't think it's like super great, but it's definitely better than both Soul Feed and Tatsujin. I don't know if that's what I say. Either way, so I did think to move it up a spot. But other than that, that's pretty much it, man. If you have any disagreements, make sure to let me know in the comments. That way I can ignore you, because everything that I say is gospel and everything that you say is, well, not that. Also, I'm probably streaming right now. I stream from 4 to 10 every single day except for Wednesday and Sunday. So, yeah, love y'all and take care of yourselves.